Line of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 412-575-2600. Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock tonight. Penguins do lose 5-3 after a 2-0 lead. They looked like they were going to run away from Chicago early. But the Blackhawks, one thing about them, they're not having a very good year. They played better of late, and they have players who can score, and they did on the power play tonight. Penguins have been outstanding on the power play and special teams in general. Penalty killing tonight just was the opposite of that, and Chicago wins the game. So the Penguins now fall behind Washington, which also played tonight and won. They came from behind to beat Detroit 3-2. Highlights of all that coming up at 11 o'clock on KDKA. Let's get right to the lines, see what's cooking. We got Bert. Hey, Bert, how you doing?
Hi, Bob. Yeah. It looked like San Diego maybe figured out a way to stop Jackson, at least until the end of the game there. I don't think Pittsburgh can stop him with their regular sub packages. Seemed like they use James maybe in a spy type of a position the way Clemson does, and I was wondering whether you thought that maybe the Steelers could do it with someone like Edmonds and make it work.
Yeah, maybe. San Diego is a really good defensive team, though. I think that's what's lost in this is, you know, if you watch them over the last several games, they've really turned it on. Even the game against the Ravens out when they played in L.A., they're capable, and they have some corners who can certainly play, safeties who can play, and they could put pressure on it as well. So, you know, Phillip Rivers only passed for, I think, 160 yards. He really wasn't that much of a factor, more of a game manager. I thought that fumble by Melvin Gordon, which was originally picked up by Baltimore and run the distance, I thought it was going to stand, and it turns out it didn't. That's a big play. So many critical plays in the course of an NFL season. That's why it's really intriguing television. Only 16 regular season games. And so many games and titles come down to one play that you can think of. That's what makes it fascinating. And think of today. You know, the Eagles make that kick, and all of a sudden, the Bears make that kick, and all of a sudden the Bears have a whole new existence. Next week's matchups change. So Dallas, thinking they're going to go to New Orleans, instead ends up to take on the Rams, and that may be better for them, although they did beat the Saints earlier this year, Dallas. But, I mean, that's how things can change in such a quick manner in the NFL, by inches. And that was unbelievable what happened. And I felt bad for that guy, but that's the life of a kicker. This is why every kicker who's been in the league for a long time goes through that kind of stuff. All right, let's go out to Steve in Johnstown. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, Bob. I just want to. You were talking about the Steelers played in the last several games. What the games they lost? They had won the Cleveland game, the Oakland game, and I called a few weeks ago about the Denver Bronco game, and I was talking to Josh Taylor, and I said, who would throw the ball on the 2-yard line, knowing what happened to Seattle in the Super Bowl against New England? And he basically said, well, it was good play calling with bad execution. And he was basically saying that I don't really know much about football, but I think I know a little bit about football to know you don't throw the ball in the middle of the field on a 2-yard line where anybody can intercept it. I mean, just bad sense when you have good running backs. You can either do a quarterback sneak or you could give the ball to the running backs first. Why would you throw the ball in the middle of the field on a 2-yard line when they knew what happened to Seattle?
Of the play calling in that Denver game, I thought for sure they were going to run the ball there. And you're right, there's a lot of risk involved with throwing it. Pass deflections, all it has to do is hit somebody a hand. It's a condensed field. Plus, they have a good offensive line, one of the better ones in the game, and they have a good fullback, and they can run the ball. I like, look what we saw with the Ravens over the past 9 weeks, how they've changed everything. It was run first, then defense. Now, I know it didn't serve them well today, but defense still has a role in this game. You saw that all weekend long in some of these games.
Absolutely.
As many points as we've seen during the season. What happened in this weekend? Defense had a role to play in the outcomes of many of these games. So.
That's true.
Thanks,
like
man.
I said, Josh, he hangs the phone up, and I don't get a chance to make a statement. I can't defend myself.
Well, there you go.
I just want to say I think I know football a little bit to know you're not going to throw the ball on the 2-yard line, and if you do throw the ball,
listen, if the play works, we're not talking
about it. You throw it low. You don't throw it so someone can intercept the ball.
I got to run, but if it works, it works, and. You know, if the fake field goal works in New Orleans, we're talking about, wow, what a call, what a gutsy call, and they win the game, and they win a championship likely. Instead, it doesn't work, and then a 3rd and 20 after a pass interference and blah, blah. I mean, everything. You can remember the entire season, and that's what makes sports great to me, what happens over time. Rob in the Hill District is on the line right now. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Bob. Listen, man. You know what I like to see the Steelers do? First of all, I want to tell you something that I heard, a rumor. And I heard about Ben Roethlisberger been talking to Martavius Graham. Martavius Graham been texting him all year trying to come back to us. It should have been him and Juju all along as the starting wide receivers. But
what's
but
this
I
rumor
called
you're
for
hearing?
Bob, how come the Steelers, if they're going to have extra draft picks like third rounders and draft a quarterback like they did Josh Dobbs in the fourth and Mason Rudolph in the third, to have them sit on the bench and don't get in.
Well, when do you want them to play?
Hold on, Bob. Let me finish what I'm saying.
Hey.
Why not? Sometimes we don't take a chance on that Jalen Smith who
So you're gonna put your
ACL.
franchise quarterback on the bench to take a chance on a young quarterback.
Listen, why don't we never take a chance on Jalen Smith, who tore his ACL as a senior in college and was a first-round talent, but wasn't picked up to the second round because
Roethlisberger has been their quarterback, and that's the way it's going to be until he is done. And they have these guys. You know, you can question whether or not they should have drafted them.
Bob, you're not letting me do my point.
I don't have time, and I'm sorry, Rob. I got to go. We call back on another night when we get right to it next time. 412-575-2600. Let's go to Mike in Bethel Park. Mike, make it quick, please.
Yeah, hey, Bob. Fabulous weekend with all the games, and I'm just curious. I run into so many people that don't even watch the game this weekend, and a lot of Steeler fans tune them out when the Steelers are out of the playoffs. So I didn't know your thought.
I watch everything, and I think you should too. I think you should watch the NBA. I think you should watch golf. I watch everything. I watched Xander Schauffele today do something that has hardly ever been done. He shot 11 under 62 to win the final, to jump up the leaderboard to win a championship. I find sports intriguing. I find it fun. I find it dramatic. I find things that you can remember for the rest of your life in it. You know, if you don't want to watch, that's your choice. I mean, if I'm a Steeler fan, which means that I think I would be a football fan, which means I think I would be interested in these games. Tomorrow night there's a national championship game. Are you interested? I am. I'm interested in all that. Why wouldn't you be? Some people will say, oh, it's the same old stuff. It's Alabama Clemson. I'm not going to watch. Well, don't watch. That's your choice. I like it. Let's go to Chuck in Ross Township. What's up, Chuck?
Yeah, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Go ahead. You're on.
Huh?
You're on.
Oh, okay. I was the fellow that called a week ago, and I suggested that Joey Porter looked like a deer in the headlights. And I don't know if you recall our conversation, but
yes,
you know, we were kind of reminiscing about Tomlin. I've come to the conclusion that Mike Tomlin is a saint. Can you imagine having to deal with the likes of Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, and
coaches
so many
have
of
to
the
deal
other
with egos.
divas on that team? He is a master communicator. If he ever goes and gets a degree somewhere, I hope it's in communication.
But the job of a head coach is multifaceted. You have to deal with egos. You have to deal with ups and downs. You have to deal with different personalities, motivational skills. Everybody's different. There's a way to motivate one guy that doesn't work on the next. I think all these head coaches, when they get there, you've come a long way to get this opportunity. They're all pretty good. Now, in Mike's case, like a lot of coaches, clock management remains an issue. Replay reviews remain an issue. Those have to be dealt with. He's going to make more changes. It's not just Joey Porter. I'm anxious to see what they will be. All of this leads to next season and the expectations, not just for this team, but for him, because the seat certainly has gotten a lot warmer based on 2 years of not much in the postseason. No wins, home field, number 2 seed last year, 13-3, and then what we saw this year. So, but he deserves that opportunity because he's been here and successful for a long period of time. Let's go to Brian in Portview. Hello, Brian. Brian, you there?
Yes.
Go ahead. You're on the air.
Oh, hi, Bob. Happy New Year to you,
too.
you and your family.
Appreciate it.
Quick question. I'm having an argument with a friend of mine. Last year at the draft, when we traded Martavis Bryant to Oakland, we got a pick on draft night, a third round in that draft.
Right.
Now, with the possibility of trading Antonio Brown, I'm having an argument with my friend. He's telling me that if we trade Antonio Brown, we do not get a pick in this upcoming picks in this upcoming draft for him. Is that true?
No, I mean, you get whatever you trade for. And I think they're not going to trade him before March the 13th. Thanks for the call, by the way. Happy New Year to you. That's when the official new league year begins. They could have thoughts and conversations and try to figure it out. And I think time is, something that they should take time with here because this is a very delicate and a very important decision. do you want to go on without Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown? I mean, those guys are big contributors. You're already going to lose Bell. Now Brown, you better make sure you can replace him. And I know it's easy to say get rid of him. For all those reasons, I get it. But also, you got to make sure you get something back in return. And the team that's acquiring him would be acquiring a 31-year-old receiver who, yes, can still play, but has a big, not so much a big cap hit. They can handle that. But you have to wonder, with all the stuff that's been going on, you have to all of a sudden bring that into your organization. Can you deal with it as well? So I think it's interesting to see how it will play out. I don't think any conclusions have been made. I think they're going to test the water, and they should, and make a decision that's prudent to the best interest of this football team. I do not see in a scenario where Antonio Brown can come back here, given everything that's happened. I think it's too toxic at this point to do that. We'll find out what they do. Let's go to Tony in North Cambria. What's up, Tony? How are you?
Good, Bob. Hey, Happy New Year.
You too. Thanks.
Hey, my thing is with the Steelers, I think offense at times been looked at, but it comes down to defense. Mm-hmm. And Tomlin, his strength, which is supposed to be his strength, is our weakness, and that's the defensive back. So I'll listen to what you have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, but I hate when I hear that, Tony, only because, when Brian Billick won a championship in Baltimore, if you might remember, he came over as a offensive guru. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Baltimore did not win with offense. They had Trent Dilfer at quarterback. They had a defense that carried them. And largely under Brian Billick, it was defense first. So you deal with what you deal with. You have to draft players. Some of those guys work out, some don't. And you do the best you can to win, given the talent that you have. That doesn't mean he's bad at offense, because the Ravens were really average at best scoring points. Their team was good at stopping things. So I think that's a narrative that we hear too much of. I think you're a head coach, you're a supervisor, basically. You're involved, but you don't call all the plays. So I think it's a tough assignment. It really is. But I think largely, he's done a pretty good job. We'll see what happens. This is going to be a very big year for him, make no mistake. We have Rich, Mike, Tom, Carl, and Steve all next right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We'll be right back.